What is it that needs reconciliation? We talked about this a couple weeks ago. It is the thing, whatever it is, that is making everything fall apart in our relationship with God and in our relationship with one another. It's what it all keeps coming back to. In Jeremiah, it is worshiping our own efforts, the products of our money, our power, our excesses, depending on other gods, glorifying the wealth and status they enjoyed rather than God and God's companionship. Is what it said in Jeremiah. In Isaiah 58, it's putting on others the heavy yoke of oppression, pointing your finger and spreading vicious rumors. In Ezekiel 16, it is the lack of concern for the vulnerable while living in excess, and that it was Sodom's arrogance that was the abomination to God. When we get caught up in all the details on which we might disagree, even hold strong convictions about, when those details divide us, we are not living into communion and covenant with each other. We do not grow stronger in expressing God's love for all creation, which is what we're called to do. If I say to you, you are wrong about your notion of God's heart on this matter, implying that you aren't really seeking God, I am liable to the hell of fire. That's what Matthew is saying, what Jesus says in Matthew. But if I am hearing God and you are hearing God, and we listen to God's voice, God's word, the word that God is watching over to perform, God is performing God's word in us, in each other. Perhaps we might overlay the X-ray vision, right? Do you remember this? And the telescope that are reaching out in the sky to give us lots of information. They have the different kinds, the ultraviolet, the infrared, the gamma ray, and the X-ray, all these different telescopes overlaying so that we can see the fullness of the wonder of the universe. And if we're doing that metaphorically with one another, with our different kinds of vision and overlaying it, that's when we begin to see God more clearly. This incomprehensible God who also wants to be known by us. That is reconciliation. This is reconciling the covenant that we made with one another and continue choosing to make with each other as members of the United Methodist Church of Durand. Because it is an ongoing choice to covenant with one another. And reconciliation is not just agreeing to disagree. Reconciliation that argues it out and settles the matter on how to move forward together, that is based on a covenant with one another, that is obtained by communing together like we do right now. This reconciliation is active. We choose to listen into one another's perspectives without assumptions, listening into, hearing. Because my perceptions have changed over time. My theology has shifted, acquired nuances, and might even look completely different from when I was younger or even in seminary. One might even say that a few points of doctrine have been deracinated, weeded out from my earlier belief system. I found on countless occasions someone abstaining from broaching a subject, assuming I had a certain opinion on the matter, until a random comment suggests otherwise. How much communion we missed in the meantime when they misunderstood who I might be. We dedicated the Lori Froelich Memorial Garden last week as a telling place, a sacred place where earth and heaven meet. When we consider the space between us in this way, when I come and talk with you, you talk with one another, and we listen to each other, and we consider this space where heaven and earth meet, how much different might our conversations be? It's active. It is being present, going to the place where hearing and understanding is the goal. It is active, orienting perception away from one's own thoughts and ideas about the subject, and actively listening for God's wisdom in each other, the divine speech from one another. And some weeds are easier to deracinate than others. Some are easy to pull, but they're like all over and you just keep pulling them up, right? Some are really hard to pull out. Bob and Ken met the range of stubborn weeds last week in our backyard because we had the whole gamut. And it was hard work. Right, Bob? Right. But wow, the lovely perennials that were previously obscured being surrounded now to the view of our living room. So let us practice this active reconciliation together, this deep listening, deracinate the stubborn weeds of unmovable opinions and perspectives, and acquire nuances. Let us commit to be in prayer over the ways we can be intentional about being present to wisdom in each other, that divine speech in one another. And next week we will have the opportunity to gather after the service to have some good conversation together, and I will be showing a video that will be another way of perceiving what our situation is within the United Methodist Church, and particularly our conference. So I beg you to be in prayer over this together so that we can have an openness to hear what God's heart is for us here in this space, not just what the whole everybody else is wanting to in the denomination, but what it means for us here. Because we have a lot of things that we're thinking about trying to do so that we can reach this community with the love of Jesus Christ, and we need to be free to do that. Let this be a telling place where earth and heaven meet. Amen. Let us then affirm what it is that we believe together in this abbreviated form of the Apostles' Creed. Thank you.